Hello, and welcome to Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. I'm so glad you're here. Today I have for you one of the more disturbing true crime stories from recent years. I firmly believe that had this killer not been caught so early in life, he would have become a serial killer. What this kid did is so shocking and so horrifying, it's difficult to believe, but sadly it's all true. This is the story of Gavin Ramsay, the baby-faced monster. I'm your host, Stacy Lee. Let's begin. Our story begins in Wadsworth, Ohio. This is a small town of around 25,000 people that sits 38 miles from downtown Cleveland. The crime rate is about average for towns of this size, but in the first few days of April, the police saw an uptick in crimes in one particular area of Wadsworth. Relatives of 98-year-old Margaret Douglas had become concerned. Margaret lived alone in this house. Her husband of many years died in 2000, and they didn't have any children. So Margaret had been on her own for a long time. She had nieces and nephews who loved her and who checked in on her several times a week, sometimes more, as she advanced in age. A man named Howard Leisure, Margaret's nephew, called the police on April 6th to say that he and his wife Cindy had become concerned about Margaret. They sent a neighbor over to Margaret's house, and the neighbor told them that there were 3 days worth of newspapers on the porch. Howard had called the police to inquire as to whether or not they'd found any elderly people wandering in the area.
Watcher Police.
Yes, this is Howard Leisure. My aunt lives on Portage Street.
Okay.
And a friend of ours stopped over there yesterday to check on her, and she was nowhere to be found. We didn't know if you found anybody wandering.
No, we don't have any reports of anybody wandering.
We can't find her in the house anywhere. He went in the house and looked through the whole house, couldn't find her. We don't know where she's at. She's 98 years old.
Did she live there by herself?
She lives there by herself, yes.
What's her name?
Margaret Douglas. And she never locks her house.
Okay.
She doesn't drive. She doesn't have a car. And I checked with what relatives I had phone numbers for, and nobody's heard from her or picked her up. So.
Okay.
Howard and Cindy Leisure then decide to drive over to Margaret's house and make entry into the home. They begin to call for Margaret. There's no answer. Now, this is a 98-year-old woman. Howard and Cindy knew that her time was short and thought maybe she had passed. But Margaret wasn't on her bed. She wasn't in the kitchen. She wasn't on the couch, and she was not answering them. Howard went into Margaret's bedroom and noticed that her coat was hanging there. She never left without her coat. Then Howard noticed that Margaret's bedroom closet door was open, as you can see here. He got closer to the closet and saw one of Margaret's shoes sticking out from a pile of clothes. He moved the clothes aside, and there he found Margaret Douglas on the floor. She had been beaten about the face and had bruises on her head, around her neck, and on her arms, and Howard immediately called the police. The police arrive at the scene and begin taking photographs to document the crime scene. Murder is not common in the town of Wadsworth, and so neighbors were gathered outside the house watching what was going on. The body was removed from the house and taken to the coroner for an autopsy. By morning, and while the police were still going through the house, they noticed one man standing at the curb smoking a cigarette who had been there for quite some time. The police approached this man, who turned out to be David Clickenbeard. The police questioned David, and he told them that he used to be Margaret's neighbor, and he would check on her frequently. He would help her take out the garbage and help her tidy the yard. He had since moved out of the neighborhood, but he would still drive back to the area just to check on Margaret, and that was what he was doing on this day. When David saw all the police activity, he was surprised and curious to know what was going on. David Clickenbeard was taken in for questioning, but police became convinced that he had nothing to do with Margaret's murder. The police brought Howard and Cindy Leisure, Margaret's nephew and niece, in for questioning. They were very distraught and knew nothing about why someone would kill this elderly woman.
And how many times did you guys go into the closet?
I went in twice.
Well, that's the thing I did was open the closet. So I had to move that heater from in front of the door. It's never there.
Can you tell me how it was positioned in front of the door?
It was sliding at the door, rolling it, put my fingers underneath the top lip, and I lifted it up and set it out of the way for a time of look. Then I wanted to make sure, put it back where it was, so I moved back. That's when I noticed it was shoe. So I tried to pick it up, pick it up. I think what's holding the shoe, so I grabbed that piece of clothing and go back. And I've never seen this before in my life.
Okay.
White, and I touched it, it was cold, felt clammy, but felt like styrofoam to me. So I moved it.
You all right?
Give me a minute.
Yep.
So I moved another piece of clothing, and that's when I tend to go down like this, and I felt it up part of the leg, and it felt the same way. I'm thinking, why she's got styrofoam in here? What is it? And then it hit me.
So it took you a minute to realize that it was her in there?
Yes, it did. That's when basically we left the house.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never seen. I'm sure you guys do all the time, but I've never.
Yeah, it's not something you get used to, and no matter how many times you see it.
And to me, it didn't look like flesh or skin. That's what.
It took you a minute to realize what it was.
Oh yeah, then oh God.
Well, she didn't get in there herself.
I know. She wasn't going to eat her by herself or cover herself up. I know that.
The police believed the Leisures and they were free to go. Then the cops began to wonder about the string of crimes in the days leading up to the day Margaret was found murdered. 4 days before the murder, police were called to the scene of a carjacking. A man identified only as Paul told the police that he'd been driving along a neighborhood street when he saw a young man limping along the sidewalk. Paul pulled over to see if this young man needed help, and the man said yes, and Paul said, "Do you need a ride?" And the young man got into the car. They began to drive, but shortly after they did, the young man threatened Paul and began to act violent. He forced Paul out of his car and drove off with the car. Paul's vehicle was found not far from where he'd picked up the young man. Police continued to question Paul. Carjacking is a very serious crime, and they needed to know more details. As cops spoke to Paul, his story changed. He admitted that actually he'd matched with this young man on Grindr, and they'd met on the street corner. Paul picked up the young man and he was ready to engage in sexual activity with him, but the young man flipped on him and became violent. The young man started screaming homophobic slurs at Paul and then forced him out of his own car. The police went through Paul's Grindr account, but quickly realized that the person Paul had matched with on Grindr was gone. There was something else. The day before the carjacking, a construction trailer was broken into. The owner of the trailer called the police and reported the break-in. So police began to watch the area that both of these crimes had taken place in, which was in the same neighborhood as Margaret's house. The cops noticed a young man skateboarding at night, and they pulled surveillance footage from the area he was hanging out in. The surveillance footage showed two young men sneaking around people's yards late at night. One of the young men's faces was visible in part of the video, and the cops identified him as this young man, Zachary. I have also heard this young man called Braden on different videos of this case. I'm going to call him Zachary. Zachary was under 18, so his last name has been withheld, and it might also be why he has two different names in this story. So Zachary is brought in for questioning. He denies knowing anything about the carjacking, but he admits to being in the area of the construction trailer break-in.
Your phone.
Yes.
Where do you think you left it?
That I have no idea.
What were you doing last night?
Just out walking around. I forget the officer's name, but somebody stopped me and I talked to him for a little bit. I guess he was out looking for somebody.
Who were you walking around with?
Nobody.
Are you missing a lighter?
Mm-mm.
No? Would you be surprised if I told you that there was a lighter with your phone?
Honestly, yes.
Okay. If you just want to be honest with me, that would be great. And if not, I can just say that you said you were nowhere near, and here's the video.
Okay. I appreciate, I guess, the straight upness. I do, honestly. I was out with a friend We were just messing around, and I'm not exactly sure what church that is, but we decided to get up on top of the roof, and then we dropped down to see if one of the doors were open, and then it started a silent alarm, not really silent, we heard it. We saw an officer walking from the church, and then we ran from him.
So was that Gavin's green lighter then, or yours?
Green lighter, that would be Gavin's.
Police tell Zachary they are looking at him for the murder of Margaret Douglas. Zachary becomes very emotional and upset, and he tells the police that he is not going down for murder, but he does know someone the police need to talk to. Zachary tells the cops that the other person in the surveillance video seen sneaking around the neighborhood with him is 17-year-old Gavin Ramsay, and Zachary has a feeling that Gavin has done something very, very bad. The police bring Gavin Ramsay in for questioning. His mother, Chris, attends the interview with her son.
We weren't really doing anything. And then we went over to the church and climbed on top. And then we went into the courtyard, but that's all we did.
Nah, you did more. Unfortunately, you guys have left behind some very telling items, okay? If we're going to get to the bottom of this, let's just make it the truth all at once. Let's deal with it and get it done.
You're 17.
Yeah. You're a kid, so you're not looking at as much trouble.
I didn't even know what was going off because we were over by the windows and they were already cracked open. And we were just messing with them. They were honestly cracked open. I'm not lying anymore.
You'd think that would be enough to scare the bejeebies out of you and go home. Were you guys going to hide in the trailer?
No.
What did you do with the trailer?
I poked my knife behind the little seam in it and popped it out.
Why were you guys going to go in there?
I don't know. We honestly had nothing to do. And me and Brayden together, we know it's not good, but I don't know. We're good friends. We just hang out.
You guys do anything else in the area?
No.
So you guys didn't go into any cars? You know what? It would make me feel a lot better now if it was just the two of you that went into the cars.
Yeah.
Because of the other issue in the area. I'm sure.
I didn't even know there was a car issue there.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. You guys didn't. Now would be the time to tell, okay? Because we processed the cars, we did fingerprints and DNA. He's been in trouble. I would assume you were with him at Central Intermediate School?
Yes.
So your DNA is on
yeah.
file as well. So that's all going to come up. If it's you guys, for goodness sakes, it's just rummaging through cars and nothing was even taken that they could tell. We've had a lot of goings on in your neighborhood lately. And probably more than the general public is aware.
I'm sure.
More than one incident. Yeah, so more than one incident. So,
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're trying to see if, they're all related.
Right.
Since I've got in trouble, this most recent one, without the law, I haven't really snuck out at all.
When was this recent time that he got in trouble on?
He has not had any freedom at all. I mean, he literally goes to work and home probably 3 months because he makes bad choices, and we don't want that for our kids. So he literally has no life. Yeah, let's look at it this way. Honesty is always what's best.
I'm not holding anything back.
You've already gotten yourself in trouble, so.
I know, and I don't even. I don't know what to say.
Is there more? Because it always comes out.
It's not that there's anything more. It's what the dude.
That's why I always told you kids, what happens in the dark comes out in the light. That's the way it works. You mess up, you get caught. You make bad choices, you're going to pay for it. So if there's something else, let's get it all out on the table so that we know what we're dealing with.
There's not anything else. It's, I don't know, I'm mad at myself. I'm so mad at myself.
What are you so mad at yourself for?
I was 16 there, yeah. Belly, 5 misdemeanors, and now I'm gonna be in more trouble. I have to go back to court, and I'm done with it. I'm so done with it. I'm costing them thousands of dollars, constant heartbreak. I've honestly probably never made either of them proud. I don't do anything good.
Stop cussing.
You didn't take anybody's car? Have you ever used an app called Grindr?
No,
How do you feel about gay people?
I'm not gay.
Oh, that's okay. But they don't bother you?
No, nobody bothers me.
Okay. Is there something else you need to tell us? What's upsetting you so much?
Nothing. Can you two actually leave for a second?
What's that?
Can you two actually leave? So I can talk to her.
Yeah.
As the interview continues and the police begin to talk to Gavin about Paul and the Grindr match, Gavin asks his mother and the male officer to leave the room.
The carjack thing, it was me. I'm going to be honest about it, but the way that he explained it, that guy, that's not right. That Grindr thing, yeah, I have been on it. And this guy was like the first time that this happened, and I told him, like, I was 17 and everything, and I wasn't planning on doing anything with him. It's not my style. I was just, like, he's a 40-year-old man trying to get with a 17-year-old, so I was just going to rob him. It's still messed up, but against what he's doing, I really think it is. And then the whole carjacking thing, I never even left Overlook. I literally, I got in, and he's like, what, should we go to the back seat? I'm like, yeah, sure. So he got out. I sit and locked the doors, and hopped in the driver's seat and just drove around, messed with him, and then I left.
Do you have his wallet?
No, that's because I kept asking him, I cracked the window of the car, because he walked up, doors were locked, everything. I'm like, where's your wallet? And he's like, I don't have it. So then, I opened his glove box and all that. And I'm like, well, show me your pockets. And he's like, I don't have it, but can I have my phone? I'm like, no. And then I turned and he tried to grab the window and break it. And then I gassed it and he walked, and that's when he left Overlook. And then I went up to where the dumpsters are, you know where that white van is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where I left the car, and I just went up and even have the act anymore. I deleted it after that night. I didn't want to say that in front of my mom.
Are you gay?
No, that's not it. I didn't have any plans to do anything.
What was he thinking was going to happen? Was there an act that you guys agreed upon?
Not really, no. Just, NSA. I didn't even know what that meant, but it means no strings attached.
Okay. Did he touch you at all? Did you touch him at all?
No.
Why were you on that app?
Really just for that reason, to find guys that are that low of people, I guess.
That want to get with kids?
Mm-hmm. It's karma, really. If you're going to do that, then I'm going to rob you.
You didn't hurt that old lady, did you?
No, and that's what I was pissed about earlier.
What were you pissed about?
Because there's actually people accusing me of killing the girl. And that's, I just said some dark stuff and everything. And, I don't know, people know, I'm a dark person, I guess, but, I'm not going to go kill somebody. It's not like that. But people are they're like, oh, you killed her, didn't you? I really feel like you did. I'm like, no, I didn't.
So people are saying it?
Yeah, and it's making me really mad. It really is.
There's no reason that we would find your DNA inside her house because we swabbed the hell out of that house.
You shouldn't.
What do you think should happen to somebody that does that?
That kill someone?
Kills a 98-year-old woman. Yeah.
I don't know. I think eye for an eye is the best way to go. That's how I look at things. Eye for an eye.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I will give them your name and let them know your DNA is on file, and they can rule you out. Okay, when we get a DNA profile. Would that help you?
I mean, what, for like the lady?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't bother me.
What would you even hear about an app like that? Why would you even do that?
I don't know. Like I said, Mom, I don't know why I do anything that I do.
That sounds all vigilante crazy to me. That's what that sounds like. So that will get forwarded also, and then God only knows what that charge is going to look like.
At the end of this interview, Gavin is released, but as he is, the police ask for his phone. Gavin hands his phone over to the police, and they begin to go through the phone. They absolutely cannot believe what they find. On Gavin's phone is a folder labeled Dark. The folder is password protected. The police are able to unlock the folder with the password Murder. Inside this secret album are still images and video of Margaret Douglas sitting in her recliner watching TV. Gavin is inside her house, peeking around the corner, filming Margaret Douglas as she watches television and then falls asleep. It is something out of a horror film. The police view the images and watch the video, and then they know it is time to arrest Gavin Ramsay.
When you had your mom leave the room the other day, were you going to tell me this?
No, this was the carjacking thing. I thought about it, but I didn't know what to do.
Did you know I'd be coming to see you after we got your phone?
I figured. As soon as I heard the knock on the door, I honestly, if my boots were tied, I think I would have ran.
Gavin is taken back into police custody. His mother, Chris, is in the lobby as Gavin is interrogated a second time.
I'll be right back in, okay? You sure I can't get you a drink? I know telling me about it doesn't give you much relief.
Stuff changes the fact that it ruined my life.
We can't go back and change it.
No.
At this point, we just have to figure out what's going on with you, okay? And you didn't take anything from the house. Like I said before, it doesn't make a difference either way.
I mean, what other crime can I commit that would really matter at this point? Grandpa? Taking a breather?
Feel more comfortable laying down then? Do you want to take these off of you for a bit?
That's up to you guys.
Do you mind?
I don't mind. I'm not worried about
A
you.
little bit more comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Did you go in the house initially just to steal something?
Just, honestly, all I did was I wanted the adrenaline rush.
Oh, just going into a house.
Something.
Yeah.
I think that's why I broke into the cars and stuff. Is that risk factor. And all I've ever done is take risks because that's the only thing that makes me.
That's your drug, adrenaline?
Yeah, like, I don't know, nothing feels wrong with me. When I have adrenaline, it's like, alright.
You feel alive.
Not,
Like there's meaning to you. Right?
I don't know about meaning,
But you understand, like you feel like
yeah,
something.
it feels different. It's like, I don't know how to explain that.
Any bad stuff inside you goes away.
guess.
And there was some physical stuff that went on between the two of you in the car, right?
Yeah. First time. Officially, I guess. Yeah. This stuff happened when I was younger, but it wasn't voluntary for me.
You just weren't sure. Like when you got there, it's kind of like here's the plan, then things just start happening.
Yeah, no, that's kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Had you met anybody on the grinder before?
I had, yeah, before.
So your whole intention of going in the house was just the adrenaline of being in somebody's house.
Yeah, I didn't want to rob the house.
It was just the sneaky thrill of can I get in somebody's house and get out and get away with it.
Yeah, but if the door was locked, I would have just walked away. The whole breaking into the house, that was the adrenaline part. I think I didn't even have a grip on reality whenever I did that. I didn't know whose house it was at first until
You saw her, and you knew she knew you.
Had you talked to her before? I know we discussed this a couple times, but...
just going to, like when I was 13 or 14, going to shovel driveways and stuff. You know, when I was actually doing something good.
And nobody was with you this night? And you've not told anybody about this?
No, nobody knows about this.
Was it dark when you went inside the house? No lights on or nothing?
None at all?
Well, no, there was the lamp that was on.
Were you in her house for a little while before you woke her up?
I mean, I came up onto the porch, and I didn't even know what I was going to do. And I looked in the window and everything. I don't know, I felt like going into a house is like the biggest adrenaline rush I could get, I guess. So then I tried the doorknob and that just happened to be unlocked.
Was it the front door or back door?
The back door.
And she started to scream at that point, you said?
Yeah, because like when I hit the chair, I like turned back around and I looked and she was there staring at me and started to yell. And then went for the phone. She already knew what it looked like.
Was that when you were trying to get the phone away from her so she couldn't call? Did you not like get away, or is that when you guys fought with the phone?
It was like a little bit of a fight, I think. I think I threw it under the couch. I'm not really sure. By the time I even realized what I was doing, it was too late to stop anything.
And you realized that's when you were on the floor on top of her with your hands on her and stuff. That's when okay.
When she died, was she on the couch or on the floor?
Floor.
Were you on top of her then?
Kind of.
Like straddling her?
Yeah.
And did you use one hand or both?
Both.
And did you squeeze it or push her against the floor or both?
Both.
And you said you don't remember if she was bleeding at that point?
The only reason I can think of bleeding is when I put my hand over her mouth.
So when you were holding her hand over her mouth, you might have pushed too hard and maybe made her nose bleed?
Yeah.
But you don't remember ripping her panties?
As the interview continues, the police let Gavin know there are officers going to his house at that time to begin searching through his bedroom. Chris, Gavin's mother, is informed of this, and she makes a devastating phone call home to her next oldest son, telling him to take the other kids out of the house and leave. She wants them to get out of the house before the cops get there.
Hey, honey, listen. This is going to be a weird request. I need you to take your brothers and take them out of the house right now. I will explain later. Maybe go to Uncle David's and just hang there, and we'll call you when you can come home.
Is everything all right?
No, everything's not all right, Zach, so don't tell your brothers right now.
Back in the interrogation room, the police let Gavin know that they are aware of what he did to Margaret and then what he did after she was dead. This part is so disturbing and so strange, and I think speaks very much to the psyche of this killer. After Gavin attacked Margaret, he took a jar of blackberry jam from Margaret's kitchen. He then used the jam as a lubricant. He applied it to himself and used Margaret's hand after she was deceased. Yeah. Gavin took photos of his gloved hand inserted into Margaret's body, and he took photos of Margaret undressed with her genitals very intentionally exposed. I will just say it that way. What this kid did, there is no question in my mind or in the minds of the police who have spent a lot of time with Gavin. He is a psychopath. He is very dangerous, and he would have gone on to kill other people.
Where did that came into play at?
Did you maybe use it like kind of as a lubricant for something?
Is it a part you don't understand, or is it a part just embarrassing? In your own mind, you know what I mean? In your own mind. It's because it's okay. None of this is okay. Well, it's not okay. I'm saying we understand if it's an embarrassing part. Yeah. You're not sure if we understand that part. You know what I mean? It's okay that we understand it that way. Something I don't understand, I guess. You didn't have any.
But you put the jelly on the glove. Is that when you used her hand to rub your?
Yeah.
And is that the same time that you were taking some of those pictures?
Yeah, and after I took those pictures, well, like, what?
That's when the shock set in?
Yeah, it's like, what am I doing?
Are you sorry this happened?
Yeah, I'm really sorry that I did all of this.
Were you sorry about all of this before you got caught?
Yeah, like, I constantly, like, I think about it a lot, and I feel like bad about what I did.
The police now have the terrible job of informing Gavin's father and mother as to what their son has done. Oh, my voice is already cracking. I want to say that this next clip is heartbreaking, and I feel so sorry for these two people. I cannot imagine what this must have been like for them, and knowing that you've raised someone like this.
All the phone contained images of Margaret before and after her death, as well as videos of your son with her.
Okay.
With her. Engaging in sex with her.
Was she still alive when he was doing that?
No, I don't like.
Oh my God. This isn't happening. This isn't real. Oh my God.
I want you to know, I spoke to the director of the juvenile detention facility. I explained the situation. I explained that he was highly emotionally distraught. I asked him to fill our watch.
Okay.
I've asked him to take, to keep him under 24/7 observation.
Okay.
I know this is an emotionally devastating situation.
I just know right now.
It's a horrible set of circumstances. You deserve to know he will be tried as an adult. Oh my God, oh my God. 98 years old. Just living out her days. And here's my son. My son did this. And I'm mother all these people out here. And it's my son.
Does Gavin understand he's going to prison? Probably for the rest of his life.
Of course, Chris wants to know what is going to happen to her son, and Gavin is wondering the same thing.
What do you think's even going to happen with me?
I think you're going to go to juvenile detention. And you're going to do some time in jail.
How long do you think?
I don't know. I just don't know, Gavin.
I'll be honest. This Saturday,
5 days from now.
Mm-hmm.
I was gone. I was leaving.
You're gonna run?
Because the only reason I didn't yesterday, because I knew my mom just took out my money for my insurance, and I knew my insurance doubled, so I had like no money.
Well, Gavin, I'm glad it's gonna stop here. I'm glad this didn't go any further, because I don't know that you would have been able to change on your own.
No, I wouldn't, and I don't know, I had a pretty clear picture of what the next year looks like if I ran.
Unfortunately, I think you would have hurt more people. Was that in your plan?
I mean, that wasn't in my plan, but I could see that happening.
The police go through Gavin's bedroom and find not only the same type of food service gloves left at Margaret's house with Gavin's DNA inside them, but they find Margaret's wallet. They also find something else, a notebook where Gavin has written stories about Ted Bundy and other serial killers. Inside the notebook, Gavin records his disturbing thoughts, stating that he doesn't know what's wrong with him and that he wants to go off on someone and beat them until they're not breathing anymore. He writes, quote, "It's not even for attention or anything. I just want to take someone's life." Gavin writes that he has no empathy or sympathy for anyone. He also writes ideas down for skits and short films, and in each of his ideas, he plays the role of the killer. At this point in time, both Chris and Gavin had told the police that Gavin had been in trouble several times, but that he had been under the care of a psychologist. Chris knew that her son was troubled. I don't think she had any idea of just how troubled he was, but she and Gavin's father had tried to get help for their son. They knew Gavin was drinking and smoking weed, and they knew he was going to have to live the rest of his life with the charges that he already had on his record. But all of that seemed very, very minute now. Gavin Ramsay is arrested and booked into a juvenile detention facility. On May 24th, 2018, he is indicted for the first-degree murder of Margaret Douglas, and his bail is set at $1 million. In November of 2018, Gavin entered a plea of no contest. He then went on trial. His mother, Chris, took the stand and blamed herself for putting Gavin on the prescription antidepressant Zoloft. Chris stated that she is convinced that the Zoloft changed Gavin for the worse and that she regrets putting him on the medication. The prosecution then presented Gavin's medical records. He had only been on Zoloft for a very short time when he killed Margaret, and his other crimes and the writings in the notebook were done before the drug was prescribed. In the end, nothing anyone could say would save Gavin Ramsay from the fate that awaited him, the fate that will assuredly keep other people safe from him in the future. Gavin Ramsay's attorneys filed an appeal on February 13th, 2019, citing constitutional violations and the fact that during Gavin's trial, the court overruled Gavin's attorney's objection to certain pieces of evidence that were allowed at trial. On June 4th, 2020, the court returned its ruling stating that Gavin's constitutional rights were not violated and that the evidence was properly submitted during his first trial. He will not be getting another trial. Gavin is not eligible for the death penalty because he was a juvenile when he committed this murder, and the court upheld his sentence for life in prison. However, there is a new law in Ohio that has Margaret Douglas's family members very concerned. Senate Bill 256 was adopted, which gets rid of life without parole prison sentences for most criminals in Ohio who were teens when they committed their crimes. This does not mean that Gavin will automatically get out, but it means that at some point he could. Margaret's family is aggressively lobbying against his release, and I believe they have very good reason to. The outcome of this new law as it applies to Gavin Ramsay is yet to be seen. We all need to send Margaret's family luck in fighting against his release, and I want to send love from the Dark Hearts community to the family of Margaret Douglas, and I also want to send love to Gavin's parents and siblings. Until you're in that position, you cannot judge, you cannot understand at all how people feel. These people have basically lost their son. I think they're good people, and I'm sure they live with a lot of guilt. Margaret's family has been through something terrible, and I want to send a lot of support to them as well. We are all sorry for the tragedy that you have all been through. As you well know, we often talk about why we discuss killers here in the true crime community. If you want to boil it all down to one single question, it's this: are killers born or are they made? I don't have a definitive answer to that question, but I think that Gavin Ramsay is an incredible case study for those who argue that some people are just born bad. Thank you for joining me today on Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. I sure appreciate you stopping by and spending a little bit of your day with me. I want to give a special thank you to my patrons, those of you that support me on Patreon. It means the world to me. You know, I've got 2 podcasts. This one is called Dining with Death. This one is called Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. This is the current podcast, and I post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday. You can hear both podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. You know, our community is involved in a perpetual fundraiser. If you watch this short little video on my channel, it will tell you everything we are doing to raise money for police departments that have cold case DNA in storage that's never been tested. We are trying to get some of those kits tested in hopes that we help solve a cold case. How you doing? It's the middle of January. I know, nobody's favorite time, but I want you to know I look forward to talking with you in the comments. I appreciate your support. Stay safe, my friends, and be kind to each other, and I will see you next time on Dark Hearts with Stacy Lee. Bye.